Coming up on Network Africa, opposition leader to face trial on allegation of rape in Senegal. South Africa to stage joint naval drills with Russia and China next month. UN peacekeepers find dozens of bodies in mass graves in East Democratic Republic of Congo. Once again, welcome to Network Africa. I'm Anne Nwawodu. A Senegalese judge has ordered a prominent opposition leader, Ousmane Sonko, to face trial for alleged rape. He was accused by an employee of a beauty salon where he went for a massage. His indictment in March 2021 triggered violence in which around a dozen people were killed. Sonko, a 48-year-old former tax inspector, has denied the charge, saying that he is a victim of a plot by President Macky Sall and part of a scheme to torpedo his 2024 candidacy. One of Sonko's lawyers, Cheikh Ba, stresses that the order is subject to a legal challenge and his legal team intends to appeal. Sonko, who came third in Senegal's presidential election in 2019, has enjoyed a rapid political rise thanks in part to his popularity with the young people, whose supporters hail his efforts to speak up on corruption and social elitism, as well as slamming the economic and political grip of multinational firms and Senegal's former colonial power, France. Let's head over now to South Africa, where the military has announced it will hold joint military drills with Russia and China off its coast next month. The drills will run for 10 days from February the 17th through to the 27th in the port city of Durban and Richards Bay. The South African National Defence Force says that the aim is to share operational skills and knowledge. South Africa was among African countries that abstained from taking sides in Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the country assumed the chairmanship of the BRICS group of nations, which brings together Brazil, Russia, India, and China. And this happened last month. The exercise will see over 350 SANDF personnel from various firms of services and divisions participating. Our South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibia joins us now via Zoom. Hello, Betty. Nice to see you. Has the government confirmed this, and what are they saying at the moment?
Well, the news came from government, from the South African National Defence Force, a statement that they released today. And they're confirming that this is going to take place. It's not the first time. We had one exercise in 2019, but that didn't draw as much attention as this because of South Africa's stance on Ukraine and then, of course, Russia's pariah status at the moment. But that particular one in 2019, Brazil was part of it. And remember, these three countries, or five of them, BRICS, yeah, they're part of the BRICS bloc. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So these are friends who have not hidden their friendship. They don't pretend about their friendship. And the Defense Force has confirmed this. And everyone is talking about it based on the statement that they released. But we know that military drills happen, military exercises happen. Nigeria is part of it. Many other countries. You have the Obangame Express, which is in its 12th year now, with about 29 countries participating. I think that's going to take place off the Gulf of Guinea, starting on the 23rd of January, if I'm correct. And the opening ceremony is in Lagos. So this is drawing attention because of the war going on in Ukraine.
All right, but how often have drills like this happened in South Africa?
As I just said, military friendly nations usually take part in these things. Sometimes it's for good, sometimes it's to flex muscles. I don't know what it is in this case, so I won't put myself in that box. But we understand that vessels, 3 Chinese naval vessels, 2 warships from Russia and one a vessel from South Africa will be participating in this. They will put out to sea, interestingly, on the 24th of February, which is the first anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And they will be doing a number of activities, including search and rescue training or exchange of training, maneuvering, air defense, gunnery, force protection, the usual things that happen. I know that from some of the defense personnel I've spoken to, most of the times that you have this, like the Obangame Express that Nigeria is a part of, you still have Grand African Nemo. The US is part of it. US is part of Obangame Express as well. Training is usually for a purpose, maybe to counter certain things, like in the case of the Gulf of Guinea, piracy. In this case, I don't quite know, but they're talking about training. If it's flexing of muscles, I don't really know.
Talking about flexing of muscles, I know South Africa was among the countries that abstained from taking sides on the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Do you think there's a significance of timing in this case?
I cannot say, but it's just unfortunate it's happening at this time. But South Africa has been unrepentant regarding it. There's a lot of criticism within the country, especially from opposition parties, which they call this immoral, given the situation. But these things happen. The trainings, the cooperation in training usually happens. This one is called Operation Morsi, which means smoke, and it's received a lot of criticism. But the ruling party hasn't condemned. The condemnation is mostly coming from the opposition parties.
All right, but from your own
party, which is the Democratic Alliance.
From your own perspective, I mean, does this fit with South Africa's commitment to a peaceful resolution of the war in Ukraine?
They're still saying that it's all about negotiation, peaceful resolution of the crisis. We had the foreign minister from Turkey, hosted by the foreign minister here, Minister for International Relations and Cooperation, earlier this week or late last week. And then they will be hosting the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, on Monday as well. They're still sticking to their stance of negotiation, peaceful resolution, which Turkey echoed as well, that they believe that at the end of the day, everyone will have to sit. We'll put some of the questions, that people are worried about to the foreign minister when he gets here on Monday. What will make you sit down with Ukraine to speak and get this resolved? Because a lot of countries are affected as well.
All right, Betsy, thank you very much for your time. And the South Africa Bureau Chief,
thank you.
Betty Dibia.
Thank you.
And let's still remain in South Africa. Former President Jacob Zuma's private prosecution case against President Cyril Ramaphosa has been postponed to May the 26th. Mr. Zuma is accusing Mr. Ramaphosa of being an accessory after the fact for failing to act against state prosecutor Billy Downer and journalist Karine Morgan. The former president is accusing the pair of leaking and publishing his private medical records, which were the basis for granting him parole back in 2021. At the time, he'd served just 2 months of his 15-month sentence for contempt of court. UN peacekeepers in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo have found dozens of bodies in mass graves. The discovery is coming after a series of attacks by armed groups in the region of Ituri. A UN spokesman, Farak Haq, says the bodies of 42 people, including women and children, had been discovered in the village of Yemamba and a further 7 men in the village of Mbogi. Peacekeepers had launched patrols in the area after reports of attacks by militias.
And we have some disturbing news from our peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, known as MONUSCO. Our colleagues there report that mass graves containing the bodies of 42 civilians, including 12 women and 6 children, have been discovered in the village of Nyamamba. Another grave with the bodies of 7 men was discovered in the village of Mbogi. Both locations are about 30 kilometers east of Bunia in the Ituri province. Peacekeepers launched a patrol to the area immediately after receiving reports of attacks on civilians by the Codeco militias over the weekend. This is when they made the gruesome discoveries. MONUSCO is supporting the Congolese judicial system to investigate the attacks and calls for the perpetrators to be brought to justice. These incidents occurred amid a significant deterioration of the security situation in Jugo and Mahagi territories. Since December 2022, the mission reports that at least 195 civilians have been killed and 68 injured, as well as 84 people abducted during several incidents attributed to Godeko and Zaire armed groups. The recent attacks have increased the number of displaced people to more than 1.5 million in Ituri and reduced access for humanitarians to those in need of assistance.
The Tigray People's Liberation Front has refuted remarks by African Union mediator Mr. Olusegun Obasanjo that Eritrean forces have withdrawn from Ethiopia's northern Tigray region following a truce to end 2 years of civil war. General Obasanjo had declared last week that all Eritrean forces who had been fighting alongside Ethiopian federal troops in the Tigray war had pulled back to the Eritrean border. However, the TPLF official posted an updated picture of Eritrean soldiers purportedly in the town of Shire. The mediator's comments were also refuted by TPLF spokesperson who said that AU officials should do their jobs first before such remarks are made. TPLF forces have been handing over heavy arms to federal troops as part of the peace deal with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's administration. Climate activists have asked political leaders and business figures to encourage new fossil fuel investment. This plea is coming on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Climate change is one of the main items of the agenda for this year's meeting, which has already seen protests against the role of big oil firms, with activists saying that they are hijacking the debate over how to address global warming.
We are trying to use every platform that we get to remind leaders that we cannot have any new fossil fuel investment if we are to address the climate crisis. Talking about adaptation is important, but we can't talk about adaptation while failing to address the very cause of the climate crisis. So I think that leaders get so, excited about adaptation and about net zeros and all that, but then they allow for more decades of environmental destruction. We know that currently just in Africa over 600 million people don't have access to basic electricity, but that is not crisis enough for discussion. So I think that if we really want climate justice, it has to involve everyone. We shouldn't leave any community behind or any family, any country behind.
The Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness, CEPI, is planning to invest up to $50 million over a period of 10 years to help Senegal's Institute Pasteur manufacture vaccines for the Global South. CEPI is a global initiative with headquarters in Norway. It is creating a network of vaccine manufacturers in developing countries to help boost capacity and reserves for future outbreaks and pandemics. And in a moment after the break, Burkina Faso's abducted women flee jihadist women from bush. Details in just a moment. Welcome back. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, has offered automatic employment to families of 7 spouses of its personnel that were killed by bandits in Kaduna State. The 7 NSCDC personnel were killed during an ambush by bandits at the mining site in Kuriga village in Birnin Gwari local government area of Kaduna State on the 10th of January 2023. The bandits also killed scores of other security agents during that attack. The NSCDC boss presented checks to the families of the victims, as well as announced that the immediate employment of the spouses or relatives of the 7 victims into the Corps as a mark of compensation for the families.
God bless you. This is not the first time that we are losing personnel. But this is about the first time we are losing this much number at a time. But this one is colossal. This one is, the number is high. 7 gallant, very committed officers or personnel of this service. The minister has asked me to also inform you that you are giving one slot to replace your husbands. So we are going to, the commandant already have directed him to liaise with the family and give us one person from the family.
Burkina Faso authorities say about 50 women were kidnapped on January the 12th and the 13th in Ambinda district, part of the restive Soum province, a new tactic by Islamist insurgents whose brutal attacks have become a menace to the West African country. But 2 women tell their story on how they took the bold step, risking their lives to escape from the unknown gunmen.
Piercing thorns and treacherous stones on the foot did not stop some of the young women as they charged through thickets, fleeing armed militants who had kidnapped them with dozens of others in northern Burkina Faso last week. Now back home, in the town of Abinda, along with a few who also managed to escape, the 25-year-old recounts the ordeal that started when some men fired gunshots and then closed in on her and other women as they were scouring the bush for food. The escapee did not wish to use her real name because of fears for her safety.
We saw them at the bottom of the hill. From there, they took us to Segué and Dala. We spent all day walking. Afterwards, we spoke amongst ourselves and said the ones that want to try to escape must try. At around 7 p.m., I managed to escape with my daughter here with me. The others were not able to escape because they were too scared. Most of the girls were younger than my daughter.
Another 20-year-old survivor, who did not wish to be named as well, says she decided to take a risk and run for it.
We thought we had to take the risk. The lucky ones will be able to escape. I took the risk to escape in the little forest nearby with my child. I arrived back at home at around 10 p.m. When I think of the others who stayed there, I can't sleep. I don't know what happened to them. Are they going to survive? I asked myself a lot of questions. When I escaped, I fell. I walked on thorns and rocks. That's how I injured my foot.
Thousands have been killed and over 2.7 million displaced by the crisis, which has contributed to growing food insecurity and discontent that led to military coups in both Mali and Burkina Faso.
South African authorities have euthanized a tiger that after it escaped from an enclosure in a private home, killing several animals and injuring a man. The incident is raising questions about whether exotic animals should be allowed to be kept as pets.
8-year-old Sheba, a Bengal female tiger, has been euthanized, but not before she had killed 2 dogs, a pig, a deer, and injured a 39-year-old man. Sheba had been living in the enclosure at an address on the outskirts of Johannesburg until her escape.
She wandered from the original monitoring and location point. She wandered 3 kilometers to the west of it onto a neighboring farm where surrounded and moved in amongst homes, about 6 homes on this farm. She attacked and killed a dog. And the decision was made to euthanize her to prevent any further tragedy. Come on!
Come on! It took the police several days to find her. The tiger was circling the area. She was spotted in the early hours of the day as she wandered into a dwelling that was housing people and animals. Animal rights activist Dr. Louise Duval says it was a sad end for the animal, but the obvious questions must be asked.
Why was this tiger actually able to escape? I believe that there was tampering with the fencing, but really that shouldn't be that easily done. So there's that question as well. How was it possible in the first place for that tiger to escape? And then obviously the whole team of people that have been out there trying to find him, the helicopters that have been out, the drones, the people involved, has got a massive financial implication that he may be made responsible for.
The National Society for the Protection of Animals, NSPCA, which took part in the search for Sheba, said police officers tried to bring her back to her enclosure, but those attempts were unsuccessful, and the safety of the community was prioritized.
In Gauteng, there are no permits required to own these wild and exotic animals. And I mean, these animals don't belong in a residential area. They don't belong in captivity. They belong in the wild where they can exhibit their natural behavior and what they're meant to do.
The person who had been keeping Sheba did not speak to the media, and the provenance of the animal is unknown. Tigers are not native to Africa.
While many have already entered and celebrated the New Year 2023, the Chinese people are only beginning their own New Year called the Chinese Lunar New Year. And in celebrating the special festival to mark the beginning of the year of the rabbit, the Chinese embassy in South Africa hosted the event, and several government officials, including the former president of South Africa, Galema Motlanthe, came to wish and even celebrate with them.
There was a bright display of Chinese entertainment as they bid the Year of the Tiger farewell to prepare to welcome the Year of the Rabbit. There was also a taste of South Africa. South African officials led by former President Galema Motlanthe were present to wish their sister nation of 25 years well.
China is a unique exemplar of how the power of nations' will to improve the lives of its people can truly transform the lived experience of a large number of people who had suffered under circumstances of abject poverty. Therefore, there is immense wisdom and guidance in this collective determination for the sake of humanity. May 2023 bring new possibilities for South Africa to take to heart these lessons and provide dignity.
The Chinese ambassador to South Africa, Chen Shetong, reached out to all present while outlining China's achievements and aspirations in today's world. China is South Africa's largest trading partner for over a decade, and the ambassador says there's room for more.
Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Chinese friends, everything starts afresh at the beginning of the new year. This year also marks the beginning of the Chinese new journey to build a modern socialist country, as well as the 25th anniversary of China-South Africa relations. China is ready to work with South Africa to implement the important consensus between our two heads of state, further enhance mutual trust, deepen pragmatic cooperation, increase mutual support, promote people-to-people links, and jointly safeguard multilateralism and international justice.
South Africa is China's largest trading partner in Africa for 13 years in a row, and the various South African ministers who spoke hope for more opportunities to be accorded South African companies in China, especially SMEs. January 22 marks the Chinese Lunar New Year, called the Year of the Rabbit. Both countries hope to keep strengthening ties as South Africa gets set to host the BRICS summit this year, as well as a military drill event with China and Russia in February. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
So I guess it's safe to say Happy New Year to China. Well, that's it on Network Africa. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Wong.